This is the coolest Ace store you could ever step foot in. It features a hobby shop, an outdoor power rental center, and a woodworking shop. Later in the video, we also get a sneak peek of Joe's car museum that is rich in automotive culture. You're not going to want to miss a second of this video because Joe has a wealth of knowledge for any business owner, shop owner, or hobbyist.
If you listen to your customers and what they want, not necessarily what you like, bring it in and it sells.
Welcome to K&S Creators Collective. My name is Scott. I'm here with Joe Findysz and his son Joey Findysz.
Welcome to Ace. What can we help you find today?
So there's a reason this has been voted the coolest Ace hardware store. I think there's a lot that we got to see here, and people might be asking, how can an Ace hardware be creative? Well, I think with your vision in mind, what we're going to see today, people will realize how that's creative. Show us around.
All right, sounds great.
Not only are you the coolest Ace store, but you've been voted coolest Christmas store 3 times?
Correct.
I mean, you can see why. What inspired you to go all out for not just the Christmas section, because this is a big part of it.
Right.
It's a big part of the season. But what inspired you to go all out when it comes to the whole store? Because we're going to still see a little bit here, but where does that come from?
A lot of it started with probably my grandfather, my dad. Everything they've done it well, and they keep adding and growing. I mean, Christmas started back in part of the hardware store, and then we've expanded and bought another building, and now it's in its own building, and that's what we do. And we just make it bigger and better, and and it's done very, very well.
And there's a lot of store owners who will, do what they need to do to make their store what it is. But how do you make this environment when it comes to the employees and everybody being a contributor to the culture here? How do you maintain that culture?
I still unload the Ace truck at this store every week.
Which you just did this morning.
Yep, we were here at 5 a.m. Well, I was a little late, about 5:35. But my Joey helps out. We have a crew of about 4 or 5 guys. Everybody works together, and it's like an honor to be part of the crew that unloads the truck.
Yeah.
And that builds a lot of team morale, and you get to see what comes in every week.
Did you have a vision to have all this at once, or where did that start?
No, it took 60 years to grow what we're at.
And it seems like the customers love this place too, and there's a reason. You were just so busy a second ago. I'm like, it's 8:30, it just opened, but people are here, they're already migrating into the store. How do you be in tune with the customers and what they want?
Well, I'm not an owner that sits behind a desk. I'm in the store talking to the employees, talking to the customers. Guy comes in, if he's looking for a plush reindeer, we have 2 or 3 people say, hey, we need a plush reindeer. We go find plush reindeers and bring them in. If you listen to your customers and what they want, not necessarily what you like, bring it in and it sells.
On our way over to the barbecue section, something had caught my eye from the housewares area. All right, now I had to stop us really quick to take a look at this because this is another example of you giving your employees the equity to kind of go off and do this. You didn't set this up. This was one of your employees.
Oh, no. The housewares ladies, they do all of this. They bring in a lot of products. Some of these tiles, very unique to Arizona.
Yeah.
That's the mission. And soil cactus stuff, and they do a beautiful job. We'll do sometimes cooking demonstrations on here, test out different appliances. And
unbelievable stuff. And I was going to say too, like when you bring in something like this, we talked a little bit about this earlier, but we're always thinking as business owners, probably profitability is a big part of it. How do you know if something's going to be a hit or not? Is it just taking the chance and investing in it?
Yeah, we kind of take a chance, but we give like the housewares department here free reign. If they find stuff they want to bring in, they bring it in. A lot of times they don't need our permission. We don't go over it. We let employees make decisions.
That's great.
And over the years, it's worked out. Every once in a while, and I hate to knock a dog, but we bring in a few dogs, but it happens. It's all part of the learning
Nobody
curve.
shoots 1,000, right? Nobody shoots
Exactly.
1,000%. You took this big green egg concept and you went all the way with it, like by even the lights being green.
Exactly.
It feels like this is a walk-in website. So when you go to a website, everything's cohesive. You're doing the same thing in your store.
It's like a theme, all big green egg here. We don't intermix it with the Weber or the Traeger stuff.
Right.
If a guy's a big green egg guy, he wants to come in and just shop his big green egg.
I feel like our brand with K&S is very synonymous with hobbies.
Correct.
Mind if we go see that right now?
Yep, let's do it.
Let's do it. So over the last 20 years or so, we've seen hobby shops become less and less of a thing. How was that much of a factor in you opening up this place and bringing this store into it?
Well, we're the last hobby shop in Tucson. And I think it was about 10, 15 years ago, we brought trains and models into the main store, and it kept getting bigger, and we expanded it. Finally, this building came available. So we bought another building and added everything in here, all the trains, planes, cars, RC, everything. And it's done crazy.
And you're going to expand this building
more. We got room in the back, which is where our wood shop now, but we'll be moving them, and then the hobby shop will double in size.
This is already, like, in my opinion, massive, but there's so much more that you can add to it too.
Right, like our son-in-law, DJ, he got on board with us and everything. Big RC guy, so he pushed for RC and everything, brought that in. No matter what we bring in hobbies, it's a big hit.
So I'm a huge Lego fan, so look at all the variety. Like, there's no Toys R Us's anymore.
No.
But this is like almost as good as what you would see in a Toys R Us. And then we have Gundam on the other side. I've never really been this mind.
The Gundam has really blown up. We had a few guys coming in here just asking for it. And we're like, okay, we'll bring a couple models in. And some of them are snapped together. Some of them are, you've got to push them together. And some of them you even have to paint them.
Yeah.
But we started to bring some in. And then sold out.
Yeah, a lot of Traxxas, a lot of cool stuff. We have even the new Bronco. You can't buy it at the dealership, but you could buy it at Ace the Hobby Place.
I know this guy has a Bronco right here.
He does. How many days did you wait for it?
509 or something.
I got to pick your brain a little bit about this. You can see the K&S display here. I'm switching gears just a little bit, but I was just at the NERSA show in Las Vegas about 2-3 months ago. And somebody there just walked by our booth and said, you can't have hobbies without K&S. And I thought that was really flattering for us. But also, too, what is your experience with our brand over the years? Because I feel like you've used it for things. Where does that start?
Yeah, you could be as creative as you want. Like we were talking earlier about the Coca-Cola crates I'm building for a Coca-Cola truck.
And that's a personal project for you.
Exactly. And I've used it all my life on projects, on Model Ts, cars.
As a store owner, how did the evolution of our brand start making its way into your stores?
We've always had it. We've never had a store without K&S.
That's great.
And when we opened our one store on Catalina Highway, the first day we opened, a guy walked into the store, walked to the K&S rack, picked up an item, went to the register and bought it. And we're like, how did he even know where that was? It was the first item sold in that store. A lot of dealers think you need to bury this in back and stuff. Like a lot of our stores, we have it on the main aisle as an impulse, and people say, well, that's not an impulse item.
Yeah.
Well, come look at our display at the end of the day.
Yeah.
People walk by, oh, I could use this for this, or I got a hole in the door I need to fill, this will work, or I need a push thing on the door. Endless possibilities to use the product.
Well, you mentioned that project that you had yourself. Do you mind if we take a look at that?
Joe himself is a hobbyist and model maker. His recent project involves creating a replica of the old Coca-Cola trucks that used to come around and drop the bottles off. Let's take a look at the creative way he uses K&S for this project.
There's the original Coke crate, and see how they use, that's like a galvanized metal.
Yeah.
But we want to dress it up and do the brass so it looks a little bit prettier. We actually experimented with the flat strip, and it didn't give the 3D look to it.
Yeah.
But when we crushed the tube, it gave it a really cool look.
All right, so we just saw the small little pieces on the Coca-Cola trucks, but this is what you're actually modeling that after, and here's where you're using the K&S brass.
We took a round tube, and the K&S custom cut them all at 27 inches, so we didn't have to do any of that. Put it in a brake, we crushed the tubing, and then we bend it around, put brass nails in this, and it's going to be our Coca-Cola crates for the truck we're going to be building.
This is just like a nice groove.
It is. It put kind of the original feel to it, and it gives it a 3D effect, and putting just a plain flat strip isn't getting the same look to it.
So we have a lot to see here. As you can see, there's a wide array of amazing cars, and it's not just gonna be limited to just cars, right? You're gonna have a lot of different stuff.
Exactly, that's what the experience is. We're gonna have a lot of stuff on shelves, probably 10,000 other items to come look at, from camera collections to Barbies, G.I. Joes. When we get done, we'll probably have over 200 cars and fire engines, probably 50 motorcycles, bicycles. Over the years, I tried to get a car at least every year, and I've been doing this a long time, so that's why obviously there's so many.
So I'm glad we stopped right here, because this always, like, we were walking in earlier and I saw this in a brief situation where Ace stores on the car, and then we mentioned earlier, Ace sets the pace. But right behind you, this is super special because the business that you have now started in Chicago, right?
Right. This was my dad and grandfather's first store on Milwaukee Avenue in Chicago, Illinois. And the phone number is 135, which is Ace spelled out.
That's
and
cool.
we kind of built this truck to honor them. And they had a delivery truck similar to this, not this exact one. But we believe this thing started life in Tucson, Arizona as a Shamrock dairy truck.
When did they decide to come from Chicago out this way?
In 1961, they got tired of the cold, so my dad and grandfather took a road trip and drove through Texas, kept stopping at different places, and their end result was going to be California, but they somehow stopped in Tucson, looked around, and liked it. You know, I could have been a California guy, but I'm an Arizona guy.
You know, there's a destiny there that happened for a reason, planted the flag in Tucson.
Yep.
And now there's so much culture and history here.
Yep,
and that's
first
great.
Ace Hardware to open west of the Mississippi, store number 420, which was the early store number.
So you're also still doing work on these cars too? Like,
Oh yeah, we have a little paint area here. We all have a mechanics area and stuff, and we're still building cars. There's probably 10, 12 cars I have that we're going to be restoring.
So, yeah, it's never just the finished thing. Even though it's here and there's everything's so well kept, you still have projects within the project itself.
Yeah, this was built from a buddy of mine, San Zaspel, and it was used in the hill climb at Picacho Peak.
Oh.
He also built this dragster, and he got tired of the dragster and traded it for a Model T. If it's in its right mood, we'll fire up the dragster for you.
Oh, let's see. Some earplugs. It can shoot flames too.
What?
Got to turn the battery on.
On top of the traditional automobiles that you've seen so far, we find out the inspiration behind Joe's collection of fire trucks.
Where does your inspiration with just like fire trucks come from?
I was a big fan of the show Emergency, Squad 51, and I dreamed when I was young about being a paramedic and a firefighter. Rode with the paramedics in college, and they talked me out of it. They said, if you have a choice to go in the family business or this, go in the family business.
But I think it's a beautiful thing, because you still, even though you still have a passion for that side of things, you can still bring it in.
I do. I take these out and I go fight fires all the time. I could beat the fire department.
Exactly.
There.
So it's like, now I have the choice where it's not my...
Which one will I drive? The Chevy, the American LaFrance, the Crown? This was an autism truck, and then I bought it from them because
they had puzzle pieces painted on the front of this.
Like, when you say autism truck, what were they using it?
They were using it for like community events and stuff.
Was it just like awareness, like that the truck was for, but they would bring it out?
And then the problem was they didn't use it a whole much, so they contacted me because they knew I collected fire trucks. Hey, we want to sell this. And they gave me a price, and I told them, well, that was too low. It's going to charity. So I doubled the price, bought the truck, and we repainted the front end. We put the Eureka back on it where it's from Eureka, California. And if you look at this seal here, it's the seal of the state of California. And then the fire guys decided to make their own little seal. So if you want to come over here and film the firefighter seal of California.
I've never seen that spelling. That's cool.
Kind of like Arnold?
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. I just realized.
Yeah. This is going to be our mechanics room, where we're going to do a lot of repairs and stuff. So we're going to kind of use this as a staging area for doing minor repairs on cars. And then if we want to go into the next room, We have, again, a little painting area. And I think our master painter is in here working somewhere, if we could find him.
Starting to catch a little aroma of paint going on right now.
We'll have to find where he's hiding. Well, it looks like he's bailed on the job. So, there he is. There's our head painter. So, and believe it or not, he does it all with a spray can. He's like a local celebrity in town. There's Jay Leno, and then there's Chuck Tim.
Chuck is a Findysz family friend, and like Joe, he has served the community well and is deep-rooted in Tucson culture.
The hard part now is getting the new generation to embrace all of this.
Where's the disconnect there? Where do you think the disconnect is?
I don't know. We were the cool generation, and I think they're the computer generation.
Well, that's why we do projects like this, because we still are trying. There's still a good amount of people out there, and they're on YouTube. They're doing these things and showing how to do it. So they do have interest, but we want to keep bringing awareness to that, to just keep that going, because it's still needed.
If this goes away, all this history, if we didn't do this with these fire trucks, most of them would go to scrap metal.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when we're buying a truck, that's who we're competing against, is a scrap metal guy. They'll get their $3,000-$4,000 of scrap metal out of it, and part of that history's gone, like the community of Cottonwood. Here's their truck.
And it still gets to live on.
Still living on.
The footage in this video barely scratches the surface of the magnitude of what this car experience was like. Your best bet is to find yourself in the Tucson area and check it out for yourself.
So I think what I love just about this experience is you're a great curator of all of this, but we also have a little bit back at the store that you want to show us with your ACE history as well.
Right, we got a big room full of all sorts of trinkets. We got a big hobby shop, big hardware store, housewares, all sorts of fancy and cool stuff.
I think it would be great to just wrap our video there, so we ought to go back over
And you
there.
said you were buying lunch. This is our little ACE museum we've been putting together for years. We probably have almost every ACE collectible die-cast car and a lot of old-time ACE memorabilia. And then over here is stuff that was sold in the ACE stores. Kind of like one of my favorite is the ACE battery. And if it says ACE stores on it, it's old.
It never is junk. It always has a use. And
exactly.
Somebody needs to be in charge of it. How meaningful is it for you to be, like a steward of all of these things? When did you kind of realize?
Yeah, I became a hoarder at a very young age. For some reason, I like stuff. I like collecting stuff, building models and stuff. I mean, I have boxes of stuff in my garage from high school still. I don't take it out very often, but my dad, he was somewhat into this, but he thought I took it a little too far with all the stuff I was collecting. But he actually collected a lot of it too. Yeah. And we would go to the show together, kind of like what we're doing now, and find unique stuff and collectibles and stuff, sell them in the store, and it just grew. Somebody's got to keep the history alive and everything, and eventually all this is probably going to be moved into a room in the museum, and that's the end goal. And that was kind of a dream of mine when I was probably in my early 20s, one day to have a big place to put cars and all the collectibles.
You don't see yourself really as an owner of any of it. You see yourself as a steward, and that comes from even when you got the business from your parents.
Right.
That's impressive because you're very humble about these things. What is it like being that person, being the steward?
Well, I always looked at it, your job is to keep this all going and alive and growing to the next generation, kind of like my cars. I'm only the keeper of the car for a while.
Right.
And then hopefully the next guy takes care of it and doesn't let it sit outside and rot away. Same thing with the business. We got to pass it on to the next generation and keep on going. We're, going on the 4th and 5th generation of, the Findysz Ace hardwares. Obviously we started in Chicago in '48 and then moved out here in '61, and it's the whole family involved, my wife, kids, everybody involved in keeping it all going, working together as a team.
There's so much legacy, and our company is 76 years of legacy and how that's been passed down, and it's great to see other families who are
you know, leaving a legacy. And it doesn't have to just be within the family, but, you know, this location in general and what you've been able to do for Tucson. You're serving the Tucson community with Ace and the products and everything like that, but you're also serving the community when it comes to the history. And those two things, you know, that's something that I think goes missing in society today. So it's great to see how you use the business for one thing, but how you just use your personality and, you know, your appreciation and respect for culture around. I think that's amazing.
Well, thank you. It's great to keep history alive.
Absolutely. So once again, it's been nice to have the experience with Joe and Joey Findysz. And what store are we at here right now?
We're at Ace Hardware, 6959 East 22nd, Tucson, Arizona.
So we want to have visitors come in here that are seeing this video, check this place out. But it's been a real pleasure. Thank you guys for sharing the experience with us. And we'll see you guys in the next video.